Yeah, and I think related to that, just trying to get representative number of family caregivers onto whatever work group is always a more difficult, and it's easy to just have it be an afterthought with despite all best intentions.
We're trying to revamp our collaboration and revitalize it, I guess. And that's a big piece, is trying to get the caregiver voice involved. But we need to give them something to feel they can contribute. And I think sometimes they feel like they don't have something valuable where really they're the reason we're doing all of this, right? So what do you give them to help them feel engaged and a part of the process?
It's safe. If you're not part of the professional part of the group, you may think, well, I'm not going to come up with something as great as them.
Right.
So that you have to kind of get a safe environment.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to build them up as well.
You do. You have to make them feel like, let them know that they're the star. Like you're the star.
Exactly.
Without you, we don't know how to work this or to help you.
Right.
Or make things easier for you. So
that's also a fine line too, because you don't, people tell their story so many times, and you don't want to invite people in, have them tell their story, and then what,
Yeah.
We have a core group of people that just come back over and over and over, kind of participate in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I was sort of sensitized to this notion that if you don't always need to give a stipend, to every single caregiver. I thought that was a make or break thing, but I'm learning from others that's not why people organize. They organize for, different reasons. Some to just give back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are there any other things that we should be doing that we're not really doing? We were talking about trying to better engage, getting underserved representations on our boards, workforces, alliances, etc., and how to go about doing that. It seems to be easier to get them, but not to keep them. And that's kind of where the discussion has been based.
I think one that
very good discussion.
Yeah.
I think one that could potentially be helpful is trying to figure out what those outcomes are that you're really hoping for, and breaking them down into smaller steps and stages, so that people who are participating, even a caregiver or even a whoever, then they feel like they're making successful progress in something.
Yeah.
I've found that the things that have the most stick-to-itness are when we decide after a first meeting, can we meet next week at the same time? And then just having a standing weekly call or group meeting, Zoom, that just seems to cement things a little bit better.
I think that someone said showing the benefit for that person. I think that is what we really need to do, is to, for example, if it's isolation and loneliness, giving them an opportunity to not feel so isolated or lonely, and then having a continued or consistent way of allowing them to, vent or whatever they need to do, to own a group or to be an owner of a group.
Maybe constant reassurance too, because it seems like a lot of caregivers tap out on getting an answer.
Yeah.
They go so far and they don't get an answer. They just move on to the next thing because I have something else to deal with. So them knowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to say that, another thing that Jill always offers to us for our own benefit are questions that one of us might ask that we want to do for our coalition or lifespan respite grant. And we pose these questions and hope that one of our peer states are going to answer the questions. And I think that's one thing that we look so much for, those responses to get insights. And yet I am so guilty of not responding to those questions when I know if I'm on the asking end of it. I would really love your feedback. And I think that's something we could all do better that we aren't really doing a lot of yet.
Yeah, I have to say when I put those questions out to the field, we get very few responses from anyone, even when I know there are states that have wonderful things to share. And it's definitely a time issue too. It's just one more email I have to respond to. Please don't ask me to do that. I totally understand that as well, but think about the value of having that network and those collaborators, people that are trying to do the same work that you're doing in your state. It's really invaluable resources for you.
Yeah.
Something that the speaker said right before we met about having, especially when you get a new person in, joining your group, to make sure that they know what they're going to be contributing or how they can contribute. I thought that's something that I think about a lot every time we get a new person. We're also, we want new people to join us. We want new people to come in, and then they do, and we're off. It's so easy to get off on, this is what we were doing last time, let's continue. And you forgot you got this new person sitting there who isn't up to speed with everything you've been doing, who needs to be brought in and told where they fit in. Otherwise, they just sit there and go, geez, they ran that whole thing and didn't even acknowledge me. They don't really need me, and they won't come back. And I worry about that. Is you have to make sure everybody understands what their place is at the table and what they contribute. So I really appreciated that she pointed that out, because I think that is so important to getting people to stay and continue and get the best out of everyone.
How have some of you done that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that's a great point. And, just our use of acronyms and the different language that we speak in our state agencies and organizations, that's really, really important.
One thing I think of in terms of the way we've done that is I'm always looking for shortcuts just to save time. So I just have a one-page onboarding, here's what we want in terms of roles. Here's your roles and responsibilities. Here's the way to contribute. It doesn't serve every purpose. It doesn't help with the connecting and the bonding of people and groups, but I hope it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable as a first timer.
Yeah.
How about if we hone in on maybe an activity that you're pursuing related to the national strategy? Have you thought specifically about what partners you need to accomplish that task, and what are you doing that's working that's getting them to participate with you? Or what isn't working?
Begging. Of email
Communication.
We need to make overtures and relationships with early childhood and early childhood workers. And so I've got the organizational chart. I know who the division directors are, but I haven't made the first overture. It has to rise up to the top.
Those would be great partners.
Yeah.
How about
Any
partnering
ideas?
with other state agencies? Are there particular strategies you've used to engage with other state agency partners, if you're doing that at all?
I mean, I think Lisa and I were just in a meeting earlier today with another potential partner who really is focused on the child services world. And then a lot of our other partners I'm sure you guys all experience this, and we have, a number of other partners who are really focused on elder services, and those two worlds can be so different. So just us playing a convening role in helping to make the connections and help people see the similarities in some of the projects and initiatives that they're working on that's always like an uphill battle. It's not, maybe that's too dramatic, but it's always an ongoing process, which, it's hard because everybody's got their own set of priorities and set of constraints, and to get just people to see the value looking, collaborating is it's just an ongoing process. I don't really have any great answers.
Especially when there's staff turnover, which
Mhm.
there
Oh, yeah.
frequently is at the state.
Well, and I think really the way to do that is you have to kind of say, this is something within the national strategy that I want, you pick one of the priorities or,
Uh-huh.
and say, this is something I would like to collaborate with you on, because if you just say, let's talk about the national strategy, it's so big. I mean, it's so hard for anybody to wrap their arms around on that. So it's almost like, or narrow it down to 5. Here are 5 things I think we could collaborate on, and let's talk about that. And then maybe pick 1 or 2 or something might be the way to go about it, because otherwise it's just so big. And like you said, everybody's got so much time. They only have so much time to share on those things. So
Do you guys
yeah.
feel that you have to do some education when you approach potential partners on even what the national strategy is? We haven't even really, I don't know, we're kind of inching towards that, but I feel like a lot of the potential people that we need to work with wouldn't even necessarily be aware that there is such a thing as the national strategy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that just adds to your level of responsibility that you first have to educate
Educate on
on what it is. But I think Lynn made a very good point, and Cheryl made it in her presentation around decision fatigue, that if you give too many decisions or too many things you want someone to collaborate with you on, you're going to limit your success. So honing in on what is the ask, what is the goal, what is the activity, whatever it is that you're collaborating on or wanting to partner on, to define it as clearly and narrowly as possible. We have also found has really helped build those important relationships. That's why respite works, actually, other than caregiving, more broadly. I think we've been able to bring in so many partners around respite because it's such a discrete, understandable among our, educated professionals, people, a very discrete service that is highly supported and highly requested, and it's narrow enough to engage people with.
Yeah.
We have about 3 minutes left. Does anybody want to talk maybe about a strategy or two that didn't work at all and you completely stopped doing it? Sometimes it's just as helpful to know about those.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw one out there. And I think, just the same as when I send emails out or try to connect with people and beg them to get involved. The strategy that I've stopped doing, I guess, per se, still is giving up on them. And my husband laughs at me and tells me I'm very good at making up stories about everybody. But it's a story in my head that they're just busy right now, and I'm going to check on them a little bit later until they directly tell me, Tiffany, no. They will continue to get a connection from me, as long as I have capacity to do so, of course.
Yeah, tenacity.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I'm glad to hear somebody has mastered that.
Funny, because I'm kind of it's sort of the same thing, but it's not. But it's like if I'm not getting a response from the person I'm wanting the response from, then I kind of try a different angle or different person who maybe has a connection to them or could come back around and get their interest, whether it's over their head or to their side or however it might need to be to sort of kind of like, oh, I've been trying to talk about this, and you don't put the person down, but just saying, I think they're really busy, and would you be willing to talk about this?
Right.
Anyone else who hasn't had a chance to
I was
speak?
just going to
Go ahead,
offer, just in the last minute, to say that I think that one thing that we're working to do in Massachusetts is to make sure that when we have a meeting, that there's always any information that could just go in an email, like updates, we try to steer away from those things being on the agenda. We want to have a conversation with everyone that attends these meetings so that they know that there's a reason why they're continuing to be invited, that we want them to be involved. We value their opinions and from sort of wherever they're sitting. So we really try to encourage ourselves to think about what's the discussion we want to have with our group this time that we get together, and does it make sense for us to have a meeting right now, or should we wait because it would be better if we had a little bit more information to then have a robust discussion and conversation about something that's happening. So that's something that we're, I think, trying to be a lot more mindful of, is appreciating everyone's time and wanting to organize our meetings in a way that allow us to get feedback.
It looks like that's a perfect way to end this. So thank you for a really great discussion. I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it, and we're about to be sent back to the main rooms. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.